Hello, my dear students. I know. Exams are just around the corner, and this chapter, Paths to Modernization, can feel a little heavy, right? Japan, China, America, it feels like a lot. But don't you worry at all. In just the next few minutes, we're going to make it so simple it'll be crystal clear. Ready? Let's dive in. So many of you have messaged me saying this chapter is confusing with all the different countries and stories. But trust me on this one. Once you understand the main idea, it actually becomes one of the most interesting and high-scoring topics. We'll make sure you're ready for any question they throw at you. So just take a deep breath, relax, and let's begin.
Okay, so before we start our little world tour, we have to get one thing straight. The main word of the chapter? Modernization. To understand the different paths, we first need to know what the destination is, right? So, what does this word actually mean? Just think of it like a country getting a complete makeover. It's the journey from the old, traditional ways to new, modern ones. Now, this means building big factories and using cool new tech like trains, for sure. But it's also about big shifts in how people think, new social structures, and totally changing how a government is run. It's a huge transformation. And our world tour begins. Our very first stop is Japan. And what's so incredible about Japan is just how fast it all happened. I mean, imagine going from a totally closed-off country of samurais to a modern industrial power in just a few decades. That's why they call it the Meiji miracle.
So how did this miracle happen? Well, think of it like Japan got a massive software update for the entire country back in 1868. The old system, run by the shoguns, was out, and the new system, with the emperor back in charge, was in. Japan went from being completely isolated to opening up to the West, and they had a brand new goal: rich country, strong army. The idea was simple: we need to get strong so no one can bully us.
And here was their four-step master plan. Step 1, fix the government. Step 2, build a modern army by learning from the best in Europe. Step 3, and this is so important, new schools for everyone, boys and girls. They understood that progress needs educated people. And finally, step 4, a huge push for industry. We're talking new factories, banks, and railways. A total transformation from the ground up.
All right, now for our second stop. And here, we're going to see a very different story. Let's travel to China. You see, if Japan chose to modernize, China was pretty much forced to. For this huge ancient empire, the path to modernization was much slower and way more painful. The big wake-up call for China was something called the Opium Wars. Britain, with its modern warships, basically just showed up, defeated China easily, and forced it to open up for trade, especially the really harmful opium trade. It was a huge shock, and it proved that their old ways were just not enough to protect the nation anymore.
China's path was really difficult. The ruling Qing dynasty was weak, and even though some smart reformers like Kang Youwei tried to push for change, there was just so much resistance from inside. They did make some progress, setting up new schools and armies, but it was a long, hard struggle every single step of the way.
And for our final stop, we're looking at a completely different path. Let's head over to what they called the New Worlds, the USA and Australia. Here, modernization wasn't about changing an old society. It was about European settlers building a new one from scratch by expanding into new lands.
Okay, look closely at this map of the USA, Bacho. You see how it started as just these small colonies on the East Coast? Its whole path to becoming a modern giant was all about this westward expansion. They bought huge pieces of land, like the Louisiana Purchase you see here, and won others in war. This expansion is what gave them all the land and resources they needed to power their industrial growth.
But, and this is so important to remember, this path came at a terrible cost. This land wasn't empty. This expansion meant that millions of Native Americans were forcibly removed from their homes and pushed onto small reservations. This is a very dark but very important part of this story. And you know what? A very similar story happened down in Australia. European settlers arrived and built a new modern nation. But just like in America, this progress for the settlers meant the displacement of the original inhabitants, the Aboriginal people, who lost their land and their traditional way of life. Okay, so we've covered the different paths. Now, let's switch to the part you've all been waiting for, exam time. Knowing the story is great, but writing that perfect answer is how you get those full marks. Let's practice a couple of really important questions. All right, here is a classic 3-mark question. I'm almost certain you will see something like this. Sun Yat-sen is known as the father of modern China. So what were his 3 main principles? Take a second and think about it. Can you name them?
And here it is, your full mark answer. The 3 principles are nationalism, democracy, and socialism. Nationalism was all about freeing China from foreign control. Democracy was about establishing a government for the people. And socialism was about creating economic fairness. Just write these 3 points down, macho, and those 3 marks are all yours.
Great, now let's level up to a 5-mark question. This one goes back to our first stop, Japan. You need to describe the major changes during the Meiji Restoration. This is a super important topic, so pay very close attention to this.
Now, to get a perfect 5 on this, you have to structure your answer using these categories. Talk about the political changes, the new military, the economic growth, and mention specifics like the first railway in 1872. And finally, the social reforms like compulsory education. The examiners love specific details, so structure it just like this, and you're sure to impress them.
And finally, here's a little cheat sheet for your last-minute revision. This table is absolutely perfect for those comparison questions. Just remember the key difference. Japan's change was internal and super fast, while China's was forced from the outside and very slow. Keep a mental snapshot of this slide. And that's it. The whole chapter, simplified. See, it wasn't so scary after all, was it? You've put in the hard work, you've done the revision, and you are going to do fantastically. I have complete and total faith in you. You've totally got this. All the very best for your exams. If this helps you out, please do me a favor and hit that subscribe button, and maybe share this with your friends who might also be struggling. And most importantly, drop a comment below and tell me which chapter you want me to simplify next. Take care and happy studying.